From out the light of many a mightier day, from Pharaonic splendor, Memphian gloom, and from the night Aeonian of the tomb, they brought him forth to meet the modern ray, upon his brow the unbroken seal of clay, while gods have gone to a forgotten doom, and desolation in the dust assume, temple and cot immingling in decay. From out the everlasting womb sublime of Cyclopean death, within a land of tombs and cities rotting in the sun, he is reborn to mock the might of time, while kings have built against oblivion with walls and columns of the windy sand. And that was The Mummy by Clark Ashton Smith, the second to last poem in the fortnight, because this is number 13. I wanted to do this one for a couple reasons. First of all, The Mummy is by far my favorite classic monster movie. If you've seen the one with Brendan Fraser, I recommend watching the early one. Not that Brendan Fraser's was a bad movie. I'm not saying that right. Is it Fraser or Frasier? Either way, that was a decent movie. But I really recommend watching Boris Karloff in The Mummy. It's one of my favorites. I think because it, in a lot of ways, speaks more to the kinds of things I prefer from stories. Despite doing a Fortnight of Fright, I actually don't care that much for horror. I prefer adventure. And The Mummy isn't actually a horror movie, it's an adventure movie disguised as a horror movie. The villain, you almost don't have a monster, you kind of more have a villain who happens to be a monster. And when they remade that franchise with Brendan Fraser, they kind of kept that adventure spirit to it. They also upped the power of The Mummy a bit. That they upped what he was capable of, but I really recommend watching it. The other reason I wanted to read this poem is because it's by Clark Ashton Smith, and Clark Ashton Smith was kind of one of the big three writers of a magazine called Weird Tales. The other two writers are Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft. Most people have heard of those two, or at least most people who are into speculative fiction have heard of those two. Clark Ashton Smith is a little more obscure. And he actually knew and was decent friends with Lovecraft. He has, there was a critic, Sprague de Camp, who said that nobody since Poe has loved a well-rotted corpse, and as much as Clark Ashton Smith did. So there's a lot of reasons. I just think that his stuff deserves a closer look, and I couldn't finish The Fortnight of Fright without having a poem about mummies. And what better poem than The Mummy to go with for The Fortnight of Fright? Well, I've only got one more day of the fortnight, so I will see you for that day. Still don't know if we're going to do anything for Halloween. Guess we'll have to stick around and see what may come of that. Take care, everyone.